Alright, this is gonna be the trade recap for today, which was the 17th. In the morning, right off the bat, we had a huge divergence where QQQ was moving bullish, while ES and slash SPX and SPY were moving bearish. In the morning, we had this very stubborn, strong node at 775 on SPY that kept holding, and it was right off the bat. It already had a lot of exposure, and they were already pinning SPY in a dollar range, which we already saw and knew. And we saw that SPY was holding the 775, and on QQQ we had the 732. But today, with the divergences in play, I didn't really get much good setups. Just because if you guys are looking at my charts here, right? When I was looking along the SPY 775, um QQQ was already above the 732 floor I was trying to play off of. But what gave me more conviction to long it was over here. I took it basically on this retest right here. On this 1027 candle, as soon as both SPY and QQQ was testing these positive floors, that's when I played the rejection off of them. So I took this back up, and I took it to 734 on QQQ just because that was where I was looking for shorts. Now we swept out the previous day high, and I said this in stages and on and in Asgard that we had these strong SPY ceilings and QQQ. SPX ceiling rolls down. We know when ceilings roll down, that typically means that um like price action is moving bearish, right? So not only do we have the ceiling roll down, we also had the 776 on SPY and the SPX ceiling, and QQQ they rolled down the ceiling too. So we saw a double ceiling roll down, and pretty much the second I saw like the double ceiling roll down, or I saw the first ceiling on SPX roll down, and right off the bat I was like, okay, well this is like looking good for the short now because they rolled down the ceiling from a higher strike price to a lower one, which means they're trying to just gatekeep upside on SPX. So in my head, I'm like, okay, SPX is not going any much higher. SPY also is being gate kept by the 776 node, but then we also have the 775, and then QQQ had the 734, and it was sweeping out major liquidity at the previous day high. So once QQQ did that, that's when I took my short up here, and I basically rode this all the way down to 732 on Qs. Now, the main reason I exited here is just because I was believing that the 732 is going to be a stubborn node, but as we started to see how these market makers were moving in the morning, they were moving really fast. There's exposure moving everywhere, and this is why you have to pay major attention to these heat maps and everything. Because you could see throughout the session, they set up a reverse rug here at 776, and like look at this. Like it's so cool to look at, and when you see it live, it's like insane because you're watching what these market makers doing, and you know what's gonna happen, right? So what happens when we see right here at 1257? So SPY, they actually killed the king node 775. They moved it up to 776 to prevent upside. They killed the node, letting it so price could slip through and knife through the node. And they removed that floor over here. They started removing the floor. SPY slips through. And what do we notice on QQQ too, right? The same exact thing happens. They remove the 732 floor, and they moved it up to 733, making it so that they could pretty much dump it straight through the 732 and the 775 on SPY. When I saw this, this like was another signal for me to short. So I took that down. Now they were setting up a reverse rug at 730 or 729 on Qs and 7760 on SPX, and I saw like a couple of people on the stages got cooked from this, and I was saying on the stages that this play wasn't gonna play out if there's only a 1 out of 3 confluence, right? There's a low probability, and I never really play those odds. There was a one node confluence on the SPX reverse rug, and QQQ never got to the node, and neither did SPY. So, and you'll actually see in real time, before we even got to reverse rug, they sliced the king node in half. they killed the positive support that we were looking to even play off of. So even then, like that would give me like a no to just skip over that trade. They killed the node before we even got there. They put it in the ceiling at 7765, and then they basically killed the node. Then later on, you see they put it down here to the 7750, and over here at 773, like SPY came in like a 10 cent range. That's where I played longs off of. So I played longs off of here, and pretty much it was where I queues. It was like right here. So I played this little bounce up. Then we ended up coming back. I didn't play the second bounce. I was kind of waiting for the retest, but we never got it. But like they slipped in the ceiling right here at an SPX. They rolled the ceiling down again. Then they dumped it. So like this is something that is like very insane to see because you're watching this happen in real time, right? There's really no other provider that you could see information like this. You're just given a level and you're told to play off of it, and you basically have to bet and hold if the you basically have to bet and guess if the level will hold. While here you could actually see, is the level gonna hold or is it not gonna hold, and then that's where your confirmation is. Like we knew the market was gonna dump until SPY lost 775 because 775 was an important node and a pivot level for SPY. And what happens when we lost SPY 775? When they killed the node, they killed it right here, and then we retested at 1251. If we look over at like 1251, when does the drop actually happen on Qs? 1251, we dumped. Like we just flushed. That was a nice move down. And something also to point out was today we got a double break on NQ/QQQ where we broke the IB low and we broke the IB high. So we broke the high up here and then we broke the low. This doesn't happen a lot, but we knew upside was limited when we got up to these to the IB high, and that was kind of my confirmation that we were going to see a dump later in the day. That's why I was looking more to short just throughout the day, because if they're already gatekeeping the upside, the IB is not going to break and continue. The whole point of the IB is when it breaks, it's supposed to just continue and held as resistance, and that's going to be the breakout. So we like right off the bat, I kind of see that they're putting ceilings where the IB high is on QQQ. So the IB high is not going to have a good break. And what do we see? The IB high didn't have a good break. We got a better break to low because they pretty much, like, we could see it. And that's why I like the IB strategy so much with skylit, because I'm able to see which side's going to break, and I know how to position myself and get myself in a good position for good risk reward for when the IB breaks. Because like I could have, like, if I wanted to, if I wasn't like so much in profit, I could have just held it short just throughout the day, because like I already knew the IB low was gonna break, and I would have probably left like runners to the previous day low, like all the way down here. Like I would have left the runners there, and we even tested the previous day close up here, and then they like had the SPX ceiling here, and then they shorted it down. So that's kind of like the recap I had for today. There wasn't really any really crazy setups. The only thing I think I had at the end of the day was I drew it the wrong way. Was this fib right here, and for like the discount zone and like kind of scalp around. But that's really it, because we had a double break, and it's kind of hard to read when you have a double break. But if you drew the IB, like this is, I drew a bearish fib setup, because if you remember in the morning I was bearish basically throughout the day. You had a retest of the golden pocket over here. We bounced to 50% equilibrium, came up, tested this golden pocket, and then they shorted it down. So that was pretty much all the trades and everything. And sorry about the late post. I had a lot of stuff to do yesterday. But yeah, enjoy.